Episode of Ian is a Weirdo, or Ian is Weird, whatever you want to call it. I'm in a pretty sour mood tonight. I can't sleep, which is always super fun. So we're just gonna crochet, and I'm not even in the mood to read. My brain just got like a million miles an hour, so I have a couple projects on the log right now. I have one of my Swamp Witch shawls that I haven't worked on in a while that probably should work. I guess we're just going to extend the season of Swamp Witch to just the rest of the year because I just couldn't get things done in time for Halloween. I was making a mitten. I guess I am making a mitten. And I was really inspired by this bat. Like it looked like kind of like a American traditional style tattoo bat, and I was really inspired by it. And they were on with a pair of. I'm trying to break this part of the I was really inspired by it, and they were on some like slip-on shoes that I don't really like slip-on shoes, but I wanted to make the bat, and it doesn't look terrible from like afar, but I don't think I'm gonna have enough width to fully get the design of the bat in, which is what I was worried about, which is why I downsized my hook so much from the original pattern, and I still don't think I'm gonna have enough room. So I'm just kind of like, meh. But this is what it looks like. So the thumb isn't sewn on yet, and then this little piece is going to be gathered, so it's going to be kind of cinched up here to make more of like a little cinching point. But yeah, I just kind of like I started following a pattern, and then I just kind of made my own waves in it. But yeah, so I've never made mittens before. I tried on my Addy Express and just had nothing but terrible experience with that. So boo fucking who. And then I still have to write the pattern for this awareness ribbon hat. I frogged a bunch, and I think that I'm supposed to start my decreases on this row, but I didn't. So I had to frog like 3 rows to get back to where I think I'm supposed to be. So torn between working on this, which is a little bit more mindless. Hey Lydia, see that you're up late with me. I'm just kind of feeling down in the dumps, so we're just gonna get through this together. I guess I have a lot of stuff to talk about with you all. As always, I try to be pretty transparent about my struggles with mental health and all of those fun things. And yeah, I'm just not having a good time right now. I apologize for the extremely loud sound that my water bottle is making. For some reason, like I can't get the straw into like the straw holder part without some moisture leaking in, and therefore it just always makes this like bubbling sound. It's really annoying. I'm not physically sick, but I am mentally sick. So but I can't sleep, so I'm just trying to be like productive, I guess. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have a bunch of patterns that I want to write that I just can't, and No, I'm not plugged up. I'm just kind of emotionally down. So, I guess for people who don't know, I've had a difficult couple of years and have really been struggling with my mental health. And some days are better than others. Um, I recently was at a residential treatment facility and was there for 2 weeks. Was supposed to be there a month, but the facility was just garbage and I wasn't getting what I needed out of the facility, so I left early. I didn't leave against medical advice, but I put up a hell of a fight so that I wouldn't. Because when you leave AMA, sometimes your insurance won't pay for it, sometimes it can make it harder to get into facilities in the future. So I just tried to write it out and get out as soon as possible. But since then, I've had a pretty bad streak of depression and some really negative, intrusive thoughts that I've been trying to deal with. Um, and it's really challenging because I'm just trying to refine my way in this world after being, you know, disabled by my mental illness, and that's kind of a hard thing to come to grips with, I think, for a lot of people who are in my position. And just when I think I have it under control, um, it just kind of rears its head and is difficult to deal with. So, if you've ever wondered why I'm such a vocal mental health advocate, it's because I rely very heavily on the advocates in my life to get through things. Okay, we got some Facebook messages. Let's see what's going on. That's not close. Sorry, my internet connection is just like garbage. I don't understand what happened. As soon as I came back from treatment, my internet was just like never the same. So rude. So I posted on like this bipolar group that I'm in that I was just kind of having a hard night. And everyone's like, change your meds, maybe like a little tweaking of meds. Like, so here's the thing about bipolar medication, if you don't know. It's just like with any mental illness, there's no magic pill to make you feel better. I just want to scratch my face with my hook. There's no magic pill to make you feel better. It's constant trial and error. And what works now might not work later. It's just this kind of constant battle. Um, yeah, I know you've been going through it, Lydia. I'm so sorry to hear that. So I'm currently on what we lovingly call it in the community a med cocktail. Um, it dripped on me. That's so rude. Is it not tight enough? Jesus Christ. I just think maybe some like residual water came up and leaked out. But so you're on a med cocktail generally when you're diagnosed with bipolar, and also anxiety. Um, and you like you may be on a cocktail for like a good amount of time, and then like all of a sudden you enter this season of your life where that cocktail no longer works, so you have to tweak it, and then it's like you're tweaking it every 2 weeks, every month, and it's just really hard to get stable once you've destabilized, at least in my experience. And I destabilized like 4 years ago, and I don't think I've stabilized since. And that's not necessarily the norm for most bipolar people. Um, Most bipolar people, when they're good about taking their meds, can be very high functioning in society, and can get back on track a lot quicker than I've been able to. Still not back on track. Um, so, um, and granted, there were a couple extenuating circumstances to my illness, but yeah. So I just people Yeah, I mean, no problem, Lydia. And if you need to go, that's totally fine. I understand that I do pop up lives, and it just kind of is what it is. If I get trolls, I can handle them myself. Honestly, like, no one's gonna be meaner to me than I am. So I really don't care. But I appreciate you always sticking up for me, and offering to be a moderator. It really does mean a lot to me. Um, so yeah, so everyone on the bipolar group was like, "Hey, like ask for a med adjustment." When I tell you that in the past 4 years, I've not gone a month without a med adjustment, I mean it. Like maybe like 1 or 2 months out of the whole 4 years. Like it has been an unholy nightmare trying to get the right dosage, trying to get the right, you know, pill on like, do we want extended release? Do we want immediate release? Like all of these things, it has been a fucking nightmare to find the right medications. And I am constantly changing medications and having side effects. A lot of bipolar medications are heavy hitters. They're really hard on your body. Like your organs can stop working, and that's not like an unusual or like rare side effect. Um, uh, and They're also just really fucking strong medications. So side effects are really common with them. And I did have the opportunity recently to do um, Gene Site, which I don't know if you've heard of. Um, so it is a service that some insurance covers. You have to get a not recommendation, a referral from your psychiatrist. Yeah, I appreciate that, Lydia. So what they do is they test for um, your genes and the compatibility with um, common psychotropic trophic, I don't know, drugs. So there's different classifications. There's mood stabilizers, there's antidepressants, there's antipsychotics, there's other ones like that. Um, and so they test your genetic compatibility with these. And this isn't necessarily saying this will work for you. This is just saying that you either have a positive, neutral, negative uh, gene relationship with this drug. That's all it says. So it doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, you take this drug, it will work for you. But I had the opportunity to take that, which I was really happy about because I have had a lot of trouble with finding proper antipsychotics. And I know when I say like antipsychotics, it sounds pretty severe. And I mean, like, they're pretty rough drugs, I mean, I would say, anyways, but like, it doesn't necessarily mean if you're on an antipsychotic that you get psychotic. And psychosis can mean a bunch of things, anyways. I don't experience psychosis, um, but it does help with my upswings, my manic swings. I guess like maybe that is like a form of psychosis. I don't think so, but maybe I don't know. But also, a lot of antipsychotics are used as anticonvulsants for people who experience epilepsy or seizures. So that's kind of the class of drug that we're looking at. But I don't know. I feel like so struggle because the bipolar person in me doesn't want to have to be, and like the reasonable, I think, person in me doesn't want to have to be reliant on a medication to make my personality be tolerable, you know, and to make me, want to stay alive and be a functioning member of society. I don't want to have to rely on medications for that. But the unfortunate reality is that I do. Um, and I'm very dependent on these medications to help me. It's kind of like I wouldn't even say it's a 50-50 relationship, changes by my mood, but it's important for me to have coping skills outside of just medication, because life is just hard sometimes, regardless of whether you're bipolar or not, or regardless of whether you have mental illness or any physical illness. Um, it's just hard sometimes, and so you need coping skills to deal with that. You can't just purely rely on medication. But my medication has been causing so many side effects within me that I really just have been struggling to find the right thing, regardless of whether it works. It's just like finding something that I don't have this crazy reaction to is, you know, step number one. This is how long the Swamp Witch um, shawl is now. I think my wingspan, isn't your wingspan supposed to be your height? So this is like 5, this is a little bit over 5'2". But I really want it to be like super drapey. I just want it to just be like a big hug. And so I don't know how far I'll get along with it. I'm not gonna do any like tassels or anything because I have that plan for the other shawl. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of keep going until I feel like it's the right amount of like drama that I want. Yeah, Lydia, and like honestly, that's not super helpful to say. Uh, I mean, I know you're the only person in here right now. Um, but some people watch the replay, um, and so also this is something that other people do deal with. So if I can be helpful to them at all, I'm willing to kind of put myself out there and kind of put the situation on blast a little bit, because it's important to talk about. Um, I remember being diagnosed with, I was diagnosed with bipolar first. and anxiety and stuff like that. I was diagnosed with that first, and then shortly after came the borderline diagnosis in addition to it. Um, and for me, I didn't really have anyone that I could look up to or to have as a resource for my particular brand of like suffering. And I don't know if that sounds silly or not, but it is really, um, it was really difficult because I didn't know how to use information out there to help me get through this really difficult time of being diagnosed, of trying new meds, of all of this stuff. And, I remember one time my older sister said, like, oh, you just need someone who's bipolar that you can look up to. And all of the people who I saw, like, on TV or comedians, like, mental illness is, like, super rampant in, like, the comedian kind of circuit. And all of these people that I saw that did have bipolar, that were openly bipolar, were addicts, were, off their meds and just doing crazy things, were committing suicide. And I just like, I was like, how am I supposed to look at that and be like, hey, there's a future for me? And it was really hard. So I kind of like pushed back a lot on like, I need someone who's bipolar to like fucking get me. But as I've gotten older, that is what I've needed. But it is also difficult when, I kind of have I don't know how to word it. But I guess like I am like a low functioning bipolar person. Like some people, and I used to be high functioning, which is really tough to deal with, right? When you think you can deal with stuff, and all of a sudden you kind of like lose the ability to fucking hang. And and so that was pretty difficult. But now that I, am in some bipolar groups, there's drama in all kinds of Facebook groups. So I left one, but because they were really fucking stupid. But the one I'm in now, that everyone's saying like, maybe get your meds adjusted. Like it's like the thing is, when you're bipolar, your whole life you are going to be fighting the ups and downs of your sickness. And meds help dull the peaks and the valleys to make them less severe in general when they're working right. But you're still going to have that cyclical um, nature to your emotions and your feelings and your brain chemistry. And those, even though they're dulled, they're still so much more severe than someone who does not have a mood disorder. So like someone who is what's the term? Not neurodivergent, neuroconvergent. I don't fucking know. I don't know what the word is. Um, but people who are neurotypical, there we go. They're gonna have normal ups and downs in their life. Times in their life where they're sad. Maybe there's a reason, maybe there's not. Times in their life where they're really excited, have a lot of energy, or very motivated. That's normal. But with bipolar, everything is just kind of turned up so that you experience things almost as if your nerves in your body are exposed and everything just feels more severe. Having borderline doesn't help me with that because it just kind of turns up the intensity even more. Um, but I, I'm glad that I found some people that I can talk to, but it's really hard when I hear when I say hey, I'm depressed, I'm really struggling right now, I feel like I'm running out of options, I don't know what to do, and everyone's like, just try new med, and it's like, nah, I'm trying every med. I don't know. It's a frustrating place to be because it's just I feel like it's really easy to give up hope. I'm really trying not to give up hope, but there's so many. Um, okay, no problem. Take care of yourself. Thank you for coming on, Lydia. I appreciate it. Really do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I hope you sleep well. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of difficult when some people are more reliant on medication for getting their brain chemistry in order, and I don't think it's invalid because truly we are at least some part of us is at the whim of our brain chemistry. So we can be having a great life, things are going super well, and our brain chemistry can flip a switch and we're in the toilet, and it's hard to deal with. And that's where meds can help you can help lift you out from the pit to maybe a slightly less dark place. Um, but yeah, I'm just really struggling because I wish that I could just have someone who implicitly knew everything that went on in my mind and was able to fucking parse it apart and just fucking make sense of it. My mind feels like such a fucking clusterfuck of just chaos, and I really just want stability and peace, and I just feel like I can't get that right now. So right now I am in a program. It's called an IOP program, which stands for Intensive Outpatient. So there are different levels of care that you can experience in the system, and IOP is probably the lowest level of care, next to outpatient therapy and psychiatry. So, so I go 9 hours a week, and then I see my therapist 1 hour a week, and it's been a little challenging. Of course, I'm not going to release any information about my group mates. I'm with the same group every week, every day, so I get to know them better, and it's been really challenging because a lot of them are having relationship issues, which I can relate to, but then they get to this there's a lot of women in the group, and they get to this men ain't shit, men fucking suck, men like this, men that, and look, I lived a lot of my life thinking that I was a woman. I fucking get it. I'm not ever gonna stand in front of a woman and say, wow, those feelings you have, super invalid. I'm never gonna do that. That's not me. Um, but being on the receiving end of that is a whole nother story because you're just I'm already dealing with feelings of being a unsupportive, insufficient spouse. And then you go and you spout off about how terrible men are. And I go, well, I'm terrible, and you just confirmed it. So now I feel like extra shit. And I kind of feel like I don't really know how to vocalize that to the group without putting them on blast for saying stuff like that, for venting like they should be able to. It just like, it feels very like difficult to like be in that position because I, again, don't want to invalidate their feelings at all, but also like they are compounding everything I feel about myself and the quality of spouse that I am, you know? So ridiculously loud. I don't know if it's as loud for you as it is for me, but it's very loud. Um, so yeah. So yeah, that's been something I've been trying to participate more, um, which is a really easy thing to say that you're going to do when you go into any type of treatment. I'm going to go to every group. I'm going to do every project. Even if the project seems silly, I'm going to do it. You know, it's easy to say, but then once you get to a project that you're like, I'm feeling like shit today, I don't want to draw a picture of like what I would look like if I was a body of water. Like, that's the kind of shit that you do. And, but I've been trying to like actively participate, even if I don't think that, even if it sounds kind of silly, and just like, you know what, can't hurt. So I just go for it. And I do think that is like yielding better results in like what I get out of treatment and therapy. But but yeah, it's just, it can be so tough when two different people are suffering for two different reasons, and one person's venting just kind of compounds the horrible feelings that another person has, because you want to give them space to vent. This is supposed to be a safe space to vent, um, but also you just feel like extra shit, so you're just like, fuck me. So that's what's going on in my little world, I guess. I'm trying to write some patterns. I am kind of contemplating what I want to do next in my life. We have some big moves coming up in the next couple of months. I have my disability hearing at the beginning of December, um, which will ultimately decide whether or not I get Social Security disability insurance. And I would be lying my ass off if I said I wasn't nervous about that. And not because I don't think that I need that assistance, but because I just like, I've, I'm gonna say something and it's like totally without ego, but I have a high IQ. I am often able to express myself very deliberately. I want to, like, maybe not eloquently, but like I can usually get my point across, right? So I appear more high functioning than I truly am. And this is a blessing and a curse, of course. It allows me to mask my feelings. Yeah, I'm going through it, Jet, and so if you want to just talk about feelings, we can. I'm feeling super depressed and having trouble sleeping, so join the emotion train. Let's get going, I guess. Um, so yeah, so it looks like I'm more high functioning than I am, and that can definitely hurt me in my quest to get disability because it looks like I can fucking keep my shit together. But newsflash, I can't. I'm a fucking mess. um, and Jet, and if you want to talk about what's going on, you're welcome to. If you just want to hang out and not talk about it, that's fine too. I'm open to whatever you need. This is I, I like to think of this as a very safe place to express whatever's going on. So, choo choo, the emotion train. Yep, all aboard. It fucking sucks. um, but yeah, so like I look more high functioning than I truly am, and that, like I said, has its pros and cons. But so my hearing date is in the beginning of December. I meet with my lawyer, I think next week to kind of cement down uh, all the information that they need to bring to the hearing, and um, I don't really know how that's gonna go. I'm trying not to go in with any still reeling from my last PTS fest with not a whole lot of support. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is hard. I too have PTSD, and it can leave you just totally shaken to your core. Lydia did leave. She was having a headache, and I think she was tired. So, but I'll pass on the message. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like good to have people who get it and like who get like all of the crazy side effects that PTSD can have on you. But man, like peeling back the onion layers to like unveil that trauma, ugh, fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. So I totally understand that you're feeling a lot of anxiety. Um, Two apps that help me, I will type them in the chat. If you like using apps. If you don't, that's fine. So one is called Breath Ball. It is literally what it says it is. It is a ball that is on your screen and it expands as you inhale. And maybe you hold, maybe you don't, depending on like whatever the breath ball tells you to do. And then it contracts as you breathe out. It was really it's really helpful for me. And then I also really like Insight Timer. They have a lot of different things that are free. Um, uh, they have like sleep, like sounds and stuff like that, white noise. They have like meditations. They have like people talking, like just whatever you need. I really like Insight Timer. There's one that I really like to fall asleep to called like something Delta Waves. I don't know what that is. Okay, I was getting my freaking hair done. That triggered me. I feel freaking batty. Like I had no idea what affected me the way that car accident that did it. Yeah, it freaking was. Oh yeah. I feel that so deeply, and I'm really sorry that that happened to you. Sometimes the triggers, um, they just come out of nowhere. Like some triggers are obvious, right? Like let's say a trauma happened and like a very similar thing happened, you get triggered. Like that makes sense. Sometimes they come out of left field, and you're like, "What the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on?" So I totally understand. Um, Also, I'm a big believer in anxiety medicine. Not for everyone, but if you have it as a resource, can be helpful to kind of um, ease that anxiety. Um, So, but it's really hard once you're back in that place mentally to get out of that place. So, grounding techniques are really helpful. You know, meditation, which is really hard for me when I'm when I'm hyped up and like anxious, but some people can do it. But just feeling your feet on the ground, feeling tethered to the earth can be helpful. Um, yeah, I had a particularly bad PTSD day in treatment, and I had a PTSD dream. I woke up, and it wasn't even like related to my trauma. I just woke up and like, ugh, like had that just kind of like I don't know, that like PTSD wiggleness, wiggle ability. I don't know. I just felt like I felt like I was gonna collapse. I just felt like I was just gonna collapse in like a pool of like emotion and anxiety and death. And so I took some anxiety meds, which helped me. Again, not for everybody, but they helped me. And then I tried to distract myself, do things that make me feel happy. Crocheting, for one, is something that tends to make me happy. Tried to crochet, tried to color, tried to do yoga, tried to meditate, tried to do deep breathing, TV shows that I can just zone out to. I really love, and like my wife, I don't want to tell too much about my wife's past, but my wife has PTSD too. And one of the things that works for both of us is watching a show that we've watched a million times. So we can focus on it, but we don't really have to focus on it. And that's super helpful. Sometimes maybe watching something new. But I'm really sorry that you got triggered. I fucking know how much it sucks. And the good thing about it is that those triggers don't have to last forever. We can get out of them. Sometimes it feels like a bottomless pit, but just kind of taking it step by step, you can work your way out of those feelings. So um, we're in it together. So thank you for sharing, your experience. Um, in my treatment that I was just in, we talked a lot about. As I totally know what you mean. It sucks the life out of all the things. It brings me joy. Ready? Yeah. I mean, you can think that you are ready. You can feel fully prepared for the next time shit pops off, and then something happens, and like all of your so like okay, I'm gonna get a little bit scientific on you, but it's just what I remember from treatment. So if I say it wrong, I'm sorry. I love myself a lot, which is a whole lot of other spy wrong. I'm sure you know about. Oh fuck yeah. Oh, I hate myself. Anyways, um, so okay, so we as humans have our prefrontal cortex, so like they try to describe your brain like a fist, which always makes my mind go to dirty things. But so like here's your brain. In the front, you have your prefrontal cortex. This is where complex thought and complex emotions lie, right? And so when you are triggered, when your PTSD is triggered, your brain kind of flips up and you are stuck with this, which is the amygdala, which is basic needs: fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Flight, fright, fawn. It's just something, yeah, those four just in some particular order. Um, so that's where we go straight into survival mode. It doesn't matter how rational we can think, all that goes out the window, and we're stuck with our amygdala. Um, Now, just like with any muscle, so let's say you go to the gym, and every time you go to the gym, you pick up a weight and you do like mm, 3 sets of 10 on your right arm, and then you go home. You go to the gym tomorrow, you do 3 sets of 10 on your right arm, you go home. Eventually, your right arm is going to be overdeveloped, and your left arm is going to be whatever your left arm is going to be. So, as we use those skills, this is me teaching and not learning. As we use those skills, if we learn to use coping skills to keep us from flipping our lid, literally just the example that they gave us, to keep us from flipping our lid, to keep us in this prefrontal cortex area where that activity is way more productive, way more rational. We can make sense of things. We can separate a flashback from reality, those types of things. If we can keep this active, this gets stronger and it becomes easier and easier to deal with. Now, if we ignore it and we just say, oh, we're not going to worry, we don't have PTSD anymore, it's so much easier to flip that lid and go back to the amygdala and overdevelop that. And once you overdevelop that, you're always going to want to go back there. So it's practice. And I'm still practicing. So I'm no fucking expert, clearly. But that is Ian's science lesson of the day. I learned so much about the brain all the time because I think it's fascinating, but I can't apply a goddamn thing. It's embarrassing. Okay. So yeah, making the swamp witch. Making the swamp witch shawl, one of them. And it's pretty long. I think we're like a little over, like 5 feet, maybe like 5 inches. I think your wingspan is supposed to be as tall as you are generally. But I want it to really like drape a whole lot. I mean, I guess I was getting to the part where like that's good. Maybe I'll just bind it off. Yeah, I'll just get to the end of this row and we'll call it a day. Because we got other things to do. I have my brown sparkly shawl that I'm making that is a bag-a-day pattern. I think it's called the Taste of Honey pattern. But anywho, so yeah, I say like, we're always going to be our biggest critics. And we're always going to be the meanest to ourselves. And we're always going to say things to ourselves. I say always a lot, but like, for me, that's how I feel. It's so easy to turn in anger and be mad at yourself than to say, I'm angry about the situation, but I'm going to move on from it. And moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It just means accepting what is. There is a therapy practice. I know that's super fucking annoying. It annoys the shit out of me. There's a therapy practice called dialectical. I'm gonna try to type it out. It's gonna probably be spelled wrong. Behavioral therapy. It was originally designed for people with borderline personality disorder, but it is actually a really great therapy technique for modality for a lot of, just for everyone, I think. It's kind of got its basis in like traditional like Buddhism, and it's not necessarily spiritual, but it is about being there's pillars of like mindfulness and like connecting your rational mind and your emotional mind to a mindful mind. And fuck, where was I going with this? I was gonna talk about one thing in DBT. It's a really interesting therapy method. You can look up a lot online. There's a lot of workbooks that you can get on Amazon, stuff like that. Where was I going with that? I also have ADHD, so that doesn't maybe it'll come back to me. But I don't know. I don't know. I had a point. I lost it. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. I found it. So one of the I believe it's under the mindfulness umbrella because there's 4 pillars of DBT. Wait, no, this is the stress tolerance, I think. Anyways, who gives a shit? So one of the things is called radical acceptance, and it is exactly what it sounds like. No confusing acronyms on this one. And it is just about saying, yep, that happened. Okay. And not having any feelings about it one way or another. And is it very fucking hard? Yes. But is it very fucking rewarding? Absolutely. Because we go through all this trauma and pain in our lives. And we wonder, what's wrong with us? Why are we so terrible that we deserved all this stuff? All this stuff. And radical acceptance says, yeah, shit happened. Okay. It kind of alleviates our responsibility in what happened. And it's hard to do. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to do, but it is very rewarding. So, if you just type in DBT radical acceptance, there's someone way smarter than me, way more skilled than me that can explain it. You can watch a YouTube video, you can read an article about it, you can do a workbook page about it, whatever you want, if you want. But I do find that that is very helpful in my coping with trauma, is just saying, you know what, yeah, it happened, but that doesn't mean that I deserved it because I'm a shitty person, that I'm flawed at my core. You know, again, do as I say, not as I do, because I'm terrible. I'm terrible at taking my own advice here, but I think that's, you know, part of what helps me is just being able to talk about it with other people. So I appreciate you all being here. And, I think that, we make a good, crazy family. And I'm really happy to have you all as friends and have you all in my life. Um, I learn so much from you all, and I have such a great respect for all of you. I'm just kidding. For all of you, you all are definitely bright spots in my life. So that's why I come on here when I'm feeling sad. Not just to vent, but to be able to talk to you all. Well, my throat hurts from talking so much. Okay, ready for the sound. If you're wondering, I'm drinking some form of Crystal Light tea. I'm really trying not to focus on like the dye that gets stuck to my water bottle, because I'm like, part of my am I gonna be able to drink this after this? Let's see. Part of my RFID. So RFID is an eating disorder. And before you go, you have an eating disorder, you are fat. One, yes, you're correct. And two, it doesn't matter what size you are, you can have an eating disorder. Also, not all eating disorders look the same, so, let's take this time to educate ourselves as well. So, with RFID is primarily about sensory issues involving food. It is often related to food related trauma. For me, I had food insecurity growing up. I didn't know if things were safe to eat or if they were going to make me sick because a lot of things were spoiled and rotten and disgusting. And so I didn't know what was safe for me to eat. So things that seem very simple, like cleaning a water bottle, are actually really difficult for me because if I find like a speck of like Crystal Light has like dye in it. So if I find like a speck of dye on like the inside of my bottle, I'm like, I assume that I've been drinking moldy water for the past like however long I've been drinking it. And I start to panic. So like I really like have to like calm myself down and like try to like say like mantras in my mind, like the water is safe, the water is safe, the water is safe, like stuff like that. Maybe that sounds totally bonkers to people who don't have to worry about stuff like that, but it's something that I've always kind of had to do anyways, and then I didn't realize until this year that there was actually a named eating disorder for what I experienced. So, I guess knowledge is power, but it also kind of made things a little more difficult. Um, Now that I have like a name to put with like my eating habits. Um, I won't talk in depth about my eating disorder probably right now, because one, it just kind of grosses me out, gives me the ick. But two, I think that sometimes the best treatment for eating disorders is to just like basically ignore stop thinking about food and just eat it. And that might seem so easy, but like if you just ignore something and you're watching TV, you're distracting yourself and you just eat mindlessly, like that can actually be really helpful for people with eating disorders. So that's what I do when I get all grossed out and like about food. It's actually very common with people who are on the autism spectrum. I, however, am not on the autism spectrum, but I do have a lot of sensory issues, probably because of my ADHD. And that happens to be one of them. So I grew up thinking I was just a picky eater, and it annoyed the people around me. But it turns out I actually have an eating disorder, and that's what. Um, so now that I can name it, I can handle it a little bit better in theory. So I am almost done. I'm kind of like, how am I gonna weave in my ends? I hate weaving in ends of things that are like very like netty because like I just feel like there's no way it's gonna look like part of the design. um, but yeah, so I really do want to adapt this pattern to be kind of like a so like I want it to be like a trapezoid shape. Like I don't want a full triangular shawl out of it. I just want like a trapezoidal shape. If you think about like a candy corn and you think about like the orange, yellow, and white, how they go down into a point, I basically just want the shape of the orange. I think that would be really cool looking, and for some reason, I don't want this to be pointy. I don't know. I'm tired of triangular shawls. Like they're fucking everywhere. I want something a little bit more exciting. Sue me. 5, 6, 7. I'm glad this took less yarn than I anticipated. I actually ordered so one ball got me. I don't understand the math of this because one ball was like less than one half of the shawl, and then I bought 3 more balls of the same color because I have no fucking idea how much yarn it's gonna take. And then I am like working on the second ball. It's maybe halfway done, and I'm finishing it up. That math makes no sense to me. So, um, yeah. Um, but I do really like this color. I would pretty much love any shade of green. Green's just my color. I've always loved it. I always will. And so just playing with like different shades of green is fun. Now with my Swamp Witch like layering thing that I'm doing, I'm gonna be layering this like sparkly brown that I have. It's like brown with gold sparkles. I'm gonna be layering that with this over it, and the shawl that I'm making with the other yarn is more solid, so it's gonna peek through this and be uber spooky. And then I should just like finish this before I like go on with the tangent. But then I'm going to attach my Swamp Witch hood to a cardigan that I'm gonna make. I'm not quite sure what color the cardigan's gonna be because it has to go with the hood because I'm going to attach the hood. But I don't have enough of this yarn to make the cardigan. So I don't know. But if you're wondering what cardigan I'm going to make, I I really do like the hexagon cardigans that everyone's making right now. But I do have to admit that I am quite tired of seeing Granny Square hexagon cardigans. I did one for Pride where like half was trans and half was rainbow, and it was really fun. I had a lot of fun making it, just like whipping it up, like boo, 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 boo. Um, but I just like I fucking would be perfectly happy never making one again. Now, Crystal Bag a Day Crochet did a hexagon cardigan, but it was herringbone stitch, and it's fucking gorgeous. It's so pretty. She always just does such a good job. She's such an amazing creative artist. But I think I'm gonna do that cardigan because it's gotta at least like first I was like, do I want to do a shawl and like attach the hood to the shawl? But because of the way that I made the hood, it needs to at least like come down like this so that the tassels can hang out in front. Um, and so yeah, so I was like, cardigan, I guess is the best way to go. Who knows? We'll see. I've only made one cardigan in my life, and I was hoping that would be it, but guess not. Guess that's not in the cards for me. I'm really trying to get the awareness ribbon hat pattern done. I was making good progress on it, and then I had to frog a bunch of it. So this is the prostate awareness hat that I'm making. I know it doesn't look like much now, but it cleans up nice once you finish it up. I made the breast cancer awareness one. And I put a pom-pom on it. I don't think I'm gonna put a pom on the blue one just to show some variety when I do the Etsy listing, but I'll make the pom-pom optional. Of course, because some people like pom-poms, some people don't. That's fine. Okay. Where's the end? Okay. So let's sew this bitch in. So welcome everyone. I'm just kind of hanging out, bitching, being a total mess, uh, rambling, chit chatting. So if you want to join the conversation, please feel free. If you want to just hang out, also feel free. This is a judgment-free zone. Um, we're all going through shit, and life sucks sometimes, and sometimes we gotta take our lumps, if you will. So, yeah, just, talk if you want. Don't talk if you don't want. That's cool. It's all good. But yeah, so I just have been going through a lot of things in my life that I want to just kind of like get out, talk about, and, you know, process a little bit. And I think sometimes, the best thing that we can do is just say something out loud or write it down. I know a lot of people who are really into journaling, and like that really helps them kind of get those like bottled up feelings out. For me, I feel like sometimes I tend to spiral when I journal, so I don't do it as much. But if it works for you, if it's not hurting you or anyone else, then by all means use it as a coping mechanism. Um, I I go through a lot of therapy and am currently in a intensive outpatient program. Uh, and sorry, I'm trying to figure out which stitch to go through. And so I'm learning a lot. I've learned a lot about mental health, about different people and different things that other people are going through, and how to be a better friend, how to be a better partner, how to be a better compassionate listener. But am I perfect? Not even by a long shot. Okay. So I know somewhere in the middle I tied two ends together and I was like, I'll sew that in later. I'm like, where the fuck is that? Is this the same size? Did I drop a stitch? If I dropped a stitch, I'm gonna be so fucking annoyed. Okay. No, it's the same. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, now I gotta look somewhere in the middle for just hanging strings. I know it's not a big deal because it's like mossy and shit like that, but it's gonna bug the fuck out of me because I'm gonna find it when I'm like wearing it. Okay, I'll sew in this in. Um, so yeah. But yeah, if you're going through a hard time and you need to talk about it, I like to set this up as a safe place to talk about things, but I'll never force anyone to talk about stuff they don't want to talk about because that's not cool. No one gets better or happier that way. Um, yeah, so if you weren't here for the Halloween season, I really became fascinated by the idea of doing like a swamp witch aesthetic. Not just like a costume, but just like the vibe. And I don't know what this came from. I th- I like I had a clear idea, and then I found this really cool picture, and it just like swamp people is like the first thing that came up. So I'm gonna try to find the picture that really just like set off. That's a cool one, but it's close, but it's not quite right. Um, Swamp Witch. Give me the Swamp Witch. I'm gonna do the one that's close, even though it's like, not quite right. Yeah. Now, like looking at it, I'm like, no. See if I can find the picture. Do. I have so many fucking tabs open. I'm gonna find this picture. Swamp Witch, Swamp Witch, Swamp Witch. Find the Swamp Witch. I have it on my phone, but it's hard to like just like show it. Um, but it was like I believe it was a black and white picture, and it just was very like ghoulish and just kind of like she just been kind of like drug out of the swamp, and I was very like, hell yeah, that's the vibe. Okay, I'm looking up Swamp Witch aesthetic now. But yeah, so I don't know why, but I was like, this year is the year of the Swamp Witch. And so I've been kind of chasing that high, um, for a little bit. But um, there was a lot of stuff that happened in September and October that really kind of derailed my Halloween and like just like all the plans that I had. So I I was like, okay, I'm gonna extend Halloween um into uh the rest of the year, and I'm just gonna do Swamp Witch bullshit. I'm gonna be on my Swamp Witch bullshit until the end of the year. And I was like, okay, so that's what's happening. So I'm gonna finish what I started several months ago, and I'm going to do this pattern that I learned in treatment. So in treatment, you couldn't have your phones most of the time, um, and if you did, you got your phone for 30 minutes 3 times a week, and half that you spent turning on your phone and updating all your fucking apps, and you're like, I don't have time for this. Um, so you really didn't get much done. Okay, so I'm trying to see if there's like a fucking like where the strings are. I know I didn't sew them in. I know I didn't sew them in. I don't. You know what? I might have just made a magic knot and called it a day. Okay, so this is the end product that I think looks pretty cool. It's like it's just like long enough where it's like kind of baggy and kind of like I feel like it just looks really cool. And with like my other shawl that I'm working on, that'll look cool. I'll have my hood on. I'm just gonna go for like layers and layers and layers and layers of shit. And I feel like that's kind of like the vibe. So here's the hood. So like it's gonna attach to the cardigan like to here. And then it has kind of like a droopy little point here. I don't know if I love that part, but like I'm really weird about hoods because I live in the South and I associate hoods with something bad. And so I was very adamant about not looking anything like that. So I did my best to kind of freehand something. This is it was really fun to make this. I did a bunch of distressing. I never really done that before, so I had a really fun time doing that. But because this is so many colors, I don't really know what color to make my cardigan. But we'll figure it out. Who cares, right? Um, I wonder if it's a time change fucking me up. Look at all those pretty colors. And then, like, I've got these hanging off that I made, like, I crocheted, like, leaves. And then I found this yarn at a thrift store. And it's just, like, sparkles. And I just loop those in the end. And I just feel like they just give, like, a nice little, like, witchy, like, crawled out of the swamp vibe. But this yarn is Premier Yarn Spun Colors. I believe in the color Autumn or Harvest. They have both, but this is one of them. It's really soft. The first time I worked with it, I fucking hated it. And then when I worked with it this time, I really liked it. So I don't know what to tell you. Give it a try if you want. It's got like I want to say it's like 65 acrylic, 35 um, superwash merino, but too lazy to check. So this is what you get. But yeah, so this is my hood, and then I'm gonna have this going, and then I'm gonna have the brown sparkly, and then I'm gonna have a cardigan, and I'm just gonna look like I'm gonna look like the most adorned homeless swamp witch to have ever existed. I gotta figure out what's going on the bottom. I've been really interested in trying to crochet a kilt. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, and we can make it happen. I know, so like, I've watched some videos on kilts, right? On people wearing kilts. And so, from what I've seen, kilts traditionally are a large piece of fabric that you fold and roll and pleat in different ways, but I don't think that that's necessarily practical for a crochet project. So I looked up how to make pleats um, in something. So I feel like a kilt could be cool, but I wonder if I could like tatter it at the ends, making it very distressed, and if that would kind of give that like swamp witch vibe. I don't know, because kilts are so like clean and classic that I don't know. Maybe it's not the right move, but I don't want like a dress or anything. I could make like pants. I wonder if I can make like bell bottom pants, like Shaggy from Scooby Doo, and then just have them be like totally destroyed and like I'm not opposed to it, honestly, and I might have enough green. Let me know what you think. I've been here talking about nothing for a long time. So I hope you have a great evening. I hope I can get some sleep. And if I can't, I might just jump back on here and just keep chatting away. So I love you very much. Thank you for hanging out. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.